Gordon, how are you? You're looking very good today.
It's very nice for you to say. So are you, Maria?
Thank you. I'm, on the Zoom, because anybody who's watching us on video and not listening on the podcast, on the Zoom, there's this fantastic filter, and I've got it right up to the max. When I turn it back, I look like a little wrinkled prune. So, so I quite like that facility. This is why I like Zoom. But anyway, listen, let's not talk about my wrinkles. Let's get straight into your area of expertise, there's so many questions I've got for you, and I'd love to get cracking with. What is an influencer and what qualities do they need to possess to be successful?
Well, you know what? Influencer, the word influencer sounds like it's a really common buzzword, doesn't it? Everybody's talking about, oh, I want to be an influencer, but it's nothing new. It's traditional word of mouth. That's what it really is. It's the ability to um, change the behavior of others through trusted opinion, knowledge, and content creation. That's what I describe as an influencer. You know what? We're all influencing. We don't always realize it. Even parents with children, even our speakers, of course, which is your area of expertise, have a tremendous amount of influence on their audience. But what the difference between the whole area of influencer marketing is we want people to take action as a result of that influence. So we want them to not only perhaps listen to a speaker, engage with them, but what happens next. And that's the most important thing. We don't want them to just be inspired and think, oh, that was very nice, and then go back to their day job. We want them to change behavior in some shape or form. So really good influencers. Once upon a time, if you look, I mean, the industry's exploded. I won't lie, it really, really has. In 2016, it was worth about 1.6 billion. It's now close to 15 billion. And brands are now investing millions and millions of pounds in influencer marketing as an advertising medium. So much so that it creates something like an 11 times a greater ROI than almost any other form of advertising. And why? Because we're working with people that brands are now working with people that can relate to their audience. Their message, their brand values resonate with that audience in a way that almost traditional advertising can't. In fact, there was a piece of research, I think, done by Gartner that suggested that amongst millennials and Gen Zs, they trust traditional advertising to the tune of just 1%. 1%. So they'll more likely pick up brand ideas and connect with their influencers, their YouTubers, their Twitch streamers, well, people that they trust and they like more than they will their own parents in some instances. And by the way, when we talk about influencers, we're not just talking about social media influencers. There's been a huge growth in B2B influencers. And these are people that perhaps wouldn't necessarily call themselves an influencer. They may be a speaker, an author, a technical expert, an academic, but they all have the ability to change the behavior of others. So just to finish that question with what makes an amazing an influencer, somebody that really does know their audience, and that they are consistent with their content creation. So it's not like I did a tweet. It's about posting every day. It's about storytelling. It's about creating an environment where you are bringing people into your community. It's about passion, authenticity, and enthusiasm. You're bringing you're bringing a brand to life through content creation. Do you know what I mean? It's and in the line of a speaker, for example, it's not just about, oh, I'm speaking at this event. It's the build up. Perhaps it's behind the video. Behind the scenes video that they could do. All manner of different things that are quite amazing to see.
No, I'm absolutely shocked at the value. When you said 15 billion, the market, I had no idea it was that big. I mean, that's a pretty significant number. That incredible.
Yeah.
And all of the things that you've listed with regards to what makes a great influencer actually makes anybody on any kind of media great at what they do, don't they? I've written a whole list. It's like a checklist here. Very good. I like that. So tell me, here's a question I've got because there's sort of an overlap and I get a bit confused. The difference between an influencer and a consumer or brand advocate.
So, if, for example, and there's been quite a lot of growth in consumer advocacy at the moment. In fact, you may have heard the word brand ambassador, which has been actually quoted in relation to influencers, but it's also been related to brand advocates. So, I think when I say brand advocates, sometimes the level of engagement is higher amongst that audience. In fact, if we go down the channels and start with the mega influencer, which is the celebrity, that's what real, when you think about influencer marketing, is where it sort of started. The Kylie Jenners with multi-million audiences on Instagram. But the growth has really been in what we call the micro nano influencers. And nano influencers, but typically would be somebody from 1 to 10,000, a micro influencer 10 to 100,000 followers, typically on across the networks. But you mentioned consumer advocates, so a lot of brands have grown their following as having a mix of influencers and consumer advocates. Because if you had only, I don't know, 500 followers on Instagram, and you loved a particular product, you're going to talk to people about it openly and with enthusiasm. And you probably aren't getting paid for that. And a brand would say, this is great because it's real, authentic influence in a way. But what that person may not have, whilst they may have strong engagement, they may not have reach, high reach, which is what basically an influencer will often have, not always. And a professional influencer really knows how to um, create the right content that works. It's that's what it's all about at the end of the day. And sometimes it's about trial and error. You're going to test and measure all of the time. I mean, for example, you might decide to create a video, but if you put that out at 6 o'clock in the morning, because that's when you get up in the morning, and your audience are not there, well, what a waste of time that is. Because and of course, the way the algorithms work, the first hour within a post is the crucial hour. So if people will sometimes say to me, "Oh, I did a post. Did you not see my post on Facebook?" And I say, "Well, no, because actually, it's only being shared to a very, very small percentage of your total audience to start with. In other words, the people that are already liking and commenting on your content. If those people like and comment it, then the post is pushed out further and further and further. And that's, in effect, the way a viral campaign works. It's because people are taking the action very quickly, like, share, comment, and that's how the speed of a viral campaign works. But so often I see people on LinkedIn and others where they're getting no views, and the reason they're getting no views is because the content is not working. You know, it's they're not educating, they're not inspiring, or they're not entertaining. Those are the three most important things to think about when creating content: education, inspiration, entertainment.
Okay, I've written that down too. I'm getting a nice long checklist here. That's really useful. So tell me, what can speakers do to resonate more with their audiences and online better? Is it the education, inspiration, entertainment that they have to have top of mind?
So I think they can. I mean, obviously, their speaker topics are the good ones, by the very nature of them, are going to be very good. But what can they do to create build up? What can they take video content of where they're going to be appearing? Can they create collaboration with the event organizer so that they get a discount on the conference tickets or something that they can then share with their audience? Can they be involved in a collaborative piece of content, perhaps post event, that they could share as a download and provide that for their followers? So there's a number of things that they can do, because if the conference organizer is a big organization, then actually what the speaker wants is they want that content to be shared. Another really good thing to do is I always connect and follow with other speakers at my event, always. And the reason I do that is because it's not like it's a cold outreach. It's like saying, we're in this together. We're in the same conference. Good luck with your session. I hope it works well. And of course, what happens then, you're building a relationship with these people. But it might well be that when you then create a piece of content afterwards, you then tag the other speakers at that event. And of course, what you're doing there is swelling your exposure to wider audiences.
Fantastic. You're swelling your exposure. That's great. I like that. It's good. It's good. So, okay. So, what makes people follow others and what stops them from following others?
So I think what makes somebody follow somebody, and I would suggest that anybody watching or listening to this is look at the actions that you are taking when you're on Facebook or Instagram, when you're scrolling through. What is it that makes you stop? What is it that makes you press subscribe or follow? Is it the entertainment of that individual? Is it because they've said something controversial that you want to feel that you are engaging? Whatever it is, if I may suggest, is start to write those attributes down and build that up so that you start to realize your own behavior, because what you're doing yourself, others will be doing as well. Yeah. A little great test to have a look at is go and have a look at 10 of your competitors or exemplars that are in the same space as you, and create an Excel spreadsheet and look at the last 10 posts that they have done. Yeah. And have a look at the type of comments that you will have. That they will have received from those posts. Some of them may be good, some of them may not be, but make observations on why they're good and why they're not. Yeah. Another thing I think to look at is always comment on big people that have got big audiences. So rather than necessarily sharing other people's content, comment on those big conversations. So, if you wanted to speak to a number of event organizers because that is important for you, or meeting planners or whatever, then find find who they are and comment on their posts. And don't just say, wow, awesome, great, well done. It's got to be 5 words or more. Provide a meaningful conversation that adds value, because effectively that's the difference between you going into a pub with a group of friends and you saying something really thought-provoking and everybody's listening to you, because that's effectively what it is. Rather than maybe you just looking at an article on the BBC and just sharing it, you're going to get virtually no response there, because remember, I am following you. I'm following you for what your perspective is, not the BBC.
I like that. You're following me from my perspective. I hope you are following me, Gordon, by the way.
I am.
Fantastic. Just checking. So those 3 bits of advice, I've written those down, excellent bits of advice. So one, write down what makes you stop. What is it that's made you stop to look at certain people's posts? That's really great. The second one is look at 10 competitors or exemplars in the same space on an Excel spreadsheet. What a great idea. And note down about their last 10 posts, what got commented, what they received. Great idea. And then the final piece of advice, which was brilliant, was, if you're trying to connect with event organizers or trying to connect with an organization, comment on their posts. I mean, that's a masterclass in an answer. That's just so generous of you. Thank you. So, if you were to give me an example of speakers who have really leveraged their influence online well, who would come to mind?
Well, I mean, I often talk about Gary Vee, and the reason why I like Gary Vee is because he is so authentic. I mean, I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, but what people love about influencers is they are true to themselves. They are not. They do what they say, and they are consistent. That's another big key word. If I didn't already mention it, it's really important. Is they don't go off tack. That you know what you get with Gary Vee. Yeah. Um, and he's entertaining as well. He gets annoyed about certain things. It's being real. What we don't want is overcrafted, photoshopped imagery, over polished. Brands are realizing now that they've got to, that sort of overcraftedness is not really resonating as well. We now live in a world with human to human, yeah, and those are the speakers which really connect with their audience, and because they connect on stage, they also connect online. So Brian Tracy is another one that I think has hugely been very successful, um, and I'm just trying to think of some others.
Can you think of a woman, or is that putting you on the spot there? It'd be lovely to
uh,
have a female name there.
Yeah, do you know what, Madeline Black? I don't know if you know Madeline. Do you? Um,
Yes.
right now, I had an interview. I've interviewed her for my podcast. Actually, she's had a traumatic traumatic experience, but she speaks with such influence. And we were talking about an event that she was at in Africa, where she asked, I won't go into the details, but it's a very poignant question around, sexual violence. I won't lie, that's what it was about. But the point is, the people in the audience that stood up that had experienced some form of that was almost 100%. And what I found was amazing is people said that Madeline's presentation and talk really left a mark with them, and they felt that they had somebody that was talking their language, could really stand up for them. And it was a very, very emotional experience for them and for her. So that is about that's about real connection. And I think what's really great about online influence is you can do that really well, particularly with stuff like YouTube and TikTok. And speakers, by the way, shouldn't feel as though they can't connect on TikTok. It's not about just mucking around being an 18-year-old. In fact, I know there's a lawyer on there who's been hugely successful from America, and he's created education, but he's done it in a way that's somewhat entertaining, and he's got millions of views as a result of it. So it's knowing not just where your current audience sits, but where your future audience.
And also, I suppose, which platform suits you, because as you say, with TikTok, the fact that he's entertaining, it probably suits him very well. Whereas somebody who maybe is a little bit dry, they might struggle. But I like that. Thank you for bringing a lady in. That's really important. And the fact over polished. So maybe I should turn down my Zoom settings and show a few more wrinkles there. I'll think about that. I'm not sure I'm ready to do that or to impose that on the world. How can you measure the effectiveness of your influence?
So, I mean, obviously, there's lots of ways in which you can do that through likes and shares on what actions people are taking. I mean, in the early days of influencer marketing, for example, it was all about creating brand awareness. In other words, top of the funnel. But what we've seen more latterly is it driving right the way down to the bottom. So it's real attribution to sales. And particularly funny enough in the sort of fashion and beauty area. In fact, I was interviewing some influencers only today that have generated huge amounts of income. I mean, some of these platforms now are earning, the influencers are earning 50 to 60,000 pounds a month through affiliate marketing links. And if they're earning that per month as an affiliate, think what they're generating in terms of revenue for the brand. Um, so yeah, so that's one thing. Affiliate marketing, affiliate links is a good way. So you've got unique tracking codes. So, for example, if we apply it to the speaker world, and a conference organizer wanted to see how influential some of their speakers were at bringing in visitors, then they could use a special tracking code that's linked to a landing page or website. When it comes to videos, of course, it's not just about views; it's the dwell time. So, are people looking at the whole of the video, or is it just they've switched on? Because that's a really good test of influence. Of do they like the video enough to be able to watch it all the way through, or are they cutting out in a few seconds? Um, and I think yeah, I think largely it's those things really more than anything else. It's views. If you're running a campaign, what's going to be the cost per engagement?
Okay, brilliant. Brilliant.
Impressions as well. Yeah,
So you've got to really look at your data, haven't you? You've really got to be on top of that. So is what it comes down to.
100%, 100%. Yeah,
Okay, brilliant,
yeah.
brilliant. Brilliant. So I got attracted to the fact that you create a 100 most influential people index, and I'm thinking, Why did you create it, and how do I get on it? I'm so, no, seriously, tell us about your 100 most influential people index.
So this is interesting, isn't it? Because I run this with a partner of mine who's also another Gordon, actually. And it came out as a result of when I was running the British Promotional Merchandise Association for a number of years. I went to a conference, which was the FedEx Supply and Ethical Exchange Conference. And I was at the conference, I was tweeting and I was connecting with all sorts of people. And about a month or two later, I had an email that said, "Congratulations, you have become one of the 100 most influential people against the abolition of modern slavery." So I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty good, isn't it?
Really good.
I feel quite
Yeah.
strongly about that, but I didn't enter, I didn't apply, nobody nominated me. So I thought, that's interesting. Anyway, but I didn't know where I was. I didn't know whether or not I was 98th or whether or not I was third. So later that year, they invited me to an event in London, so where the actual placement was. So I think I came like mid-table or something. I was just super pleased to be part of it, to be honest. But anyway, it got me thinking, and we had this conversation. And I was just saying, because I'm obviously heavily involved in, you and I know that, in the membership and trade association sector, I said, well, why don't we create an index specifically for trade associations that's geared around the top 100 most influential people index, because they are in a position of authority. They know a lot of people and yet want to create more profile, more online presence. So anyway, that's what we did, and so we're delighted to be working with the Food Equipment Association, their top 100, and the National Hair and Beauty Salon Industry, their top 100. And it's created so much interest online. I'm really chuffed to bits about it. But the reason why I think it's so popular is because whilst there is a nomination process as part of this, the actual placings is done through data analytics. So it's not about, oh, well, George has been in the industry for years, he knows everybody. It's about, well, how influential is he or she? And so we take a view of their LinkedIn and their Twitter profile and their Instagram, because what we want to try and do with these indexes is monitor and promote people that are truly influential.
That's really interesting. So I'll be looking out for a list then that's for speakers maybe and for speaker coaches or mentors. I shall be keeping an eye out. That's really interesting. So Gordon, here's the thing, right? Live streaming. Today I did a live stream with my co-presenter James Taylor. We do it regularly. We're encouraged on LinkedIn to do live streaming. I'm now being offered the opportunity to live stream from my pages on LinkedIn as well. I don't know how I'm supposed to do that as well as do it from my profile. Is there a benefit to doing all this live streaming?
Well, it's growing hugely, and also all the platforms love it. So they are, in terms of point scoring on the algorithms, it is quite high. So my answer is yes. When it comes to the world of influencer marketing, if I'm really honest, the people that are killing it are those in the Far East, in China. So last year, Alibaba and Amazon both were actively recruiting 100,000 influencers. That's just to give an indication of how they see this as growing. I mean, it is amazing when you consider YouTube. I tell you why I think it's so popular. It's because when you're going to buy something from a shop, you, the person, has got to figure out and do all of the studying of the right type of product, the right type of clothing, look at the ingredients or whatever it is that you have to do. When you've got somebody on TV or on video, they're really explaining the features and benefits to you. They're bringing it in a way that helps you make these decisions so much more easily, and it's phenomenal. They are literally some of the biggest influencers, particularly in China, are selling millions of pounds of product. In fact, albeit it happened a few years ago. There's a lady called Becky Lai. You should check her out. Actually, she famously sold 100 minis in less than 5 minutes.
Wow.
In
Wow,
five
that's
minutes.
incredible. It's
Yeah.
incredible how it's changed so much in such a short time, isn't it? Absolutely fascinating.
Isn't it? I mean,
Gordon,
when you consider these aren't cheap things, these were
no,
they were limited edition. When they went live on her blog, it created so much attention from all around the world. Yeah, five
love
minutes.
that. Love that, love that. Gordon, there is so much that you can share. And you've been incredibly generous. If people would like to have more of what you have to offer, which is so relevant to us all, how do they get in touch with you? What's the best way?
Easiest way is to head over to my website, which is just www.gordonglenister.com. Nice and easy. And or connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all the other sort of channels. I think there's only one of me on in the world, so
That's
that,
useful.
that's
That's
you.
really useful. That's really helpful. How cool is that? Not many people can say that. Brilliant. Great. And we'll include that in the show notes. Thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed yourself.
I've loved it, and thank you for helping me promote influencer marketing today.
Absolutely happy to do that. So, anyway, thank you everybody for listening to Speaking Business Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you will give a rating on Apple Podcasts. Tell your friends, share it. Until next time, I have been Maria Franzoni. Bye bye till next week.